On a narrow spit of rock where sea met sky, the small village of Harbor Bend kept watch over the water. Boats came and went in seasons, and the smell of salt belonged to everyone's memory. Anchored close to the shore, a modest lighthouse stood, round, whitewashed, with a little brass lantern at its top. People called it the Little Lighthouse, not for its size, but for its heart. It had guided fishermen home for decades, its beam steady as AP. Ramos, the keeper for most of those years, had been Mr. Anders. He was a man of simple motion. Wind the gears at noon, polish the lens at dusk, check the oil by night. He kept a log of comings and goings in precise handwriting, and knew the names of nearly every boat that passed the mouth of the bay. In towns like Harbor Bend, a lighthouse keeper was a living story, a person who connected sea and shore. When a new port development plan was proposed down the coast, a slick, modern harbor with an automated beacon and cutting-edge equipment, arguments passed through town like a sudden tide. The council said the new beacon would be more efficient and save money. They spoke of progress and modern charts. Developers promised better connections and commerce. Many in the town, tired of slow maintenance and rising costs, felt the pull of change. Mr. Anders listened at the meeting with a quiet face. He understood the reason for progress. He also understood the memory in a beam of light. Nights when fishermen pulled nets and found shelter by following the lantern sweep. Babies born on stormy nights when sailors used the beam as a landmark to guide anxious mothers. A time when radio signals failed, and a lighthouse's turning glass was the only visible sign of safe water. The council voted to build the new beacon. The plan included turning off several smaller lights, including the Little Lighthouse, once the new system went live. Mr. Anders felt the ground shift under him, not with fear exactly, but with the sense that something precious might go dark. He chose not to protest noisily. Instead, he continued to tend the lamp with the same care, polishing the brass, checking the reflectors, and seal eye, bang the spiral stairs like always. Winter arrived with fierce weather. Fishermen pulled in earlier these nights, nets heavy and faces tight with worry about the season. One December night, a storm rolled in harder than usual. Fierce winds, spray like glass across the rocks, and a hush of panic in the harbor as radio channels shrieked with static. Out in the bay, the Marigold, a sturdy trawler that had often come into Harbor Bend, felt the sea tug its rudder and then fail. The engine coughed and died. The crew battled waves that seemed to breathe with the storm. The radio was drowned out by rain. Flares were useless in the wind. The captain, a man named Anders, no relation to the keeper, but enough of the same patience to share a name, looked toward the shore and saw nothing but a wall of black. Panic pressed into the cabin. Back on the spit, Mr. Anders heard the faint crackle of a radio in the keeper's cottage. He rose from his chair and wound the lamp with hands that never trembled. He secured the lens, climbed the narrow stairs, and cranked the lamp's mechanism until the heavy gear clicked into place. The beam swept the bay in regular arcs, a slow metronome of light. The glass through the beam far, and in its bright line the crew of the Marigold saw a narrow, steadfast promise, a place where shore would meet sea without fear. Guided by the beam and the captain's careful hands, the Marigold threaded through the teeth of the cliffs and found a calm slice of water. The rope groaned, and the boat found the dock at dawn, shaken but safe. The crew tied the boat with hands that trembled and went ashore to stand wrapped in blankets near the pier. They looked Dee up at the Little Lighthouse and clapped the keeper on the back. Once the storm cleared, news traveled quickly. Harbor Bend gathered at the quay, as the fishermen told the beam that saved them. Some in the council who had argued the lighthouse was redundant now felt uneasy. The new beacon's construction schedule had been delayed by storms and budgets. The automated system was not yet online. The town realized the truth the engineers had missed. A light is not simply a device. It is a memory, a human habit, a comfort in uncertainty. In a new meeting, the council decided to maintain the Little Lighthouse as a heritage beacon and keep it active as a backup. The developers agreed to fund a small restoration, and the community voted to support the effort. They also created an educational program where children could visit and learn how the lens and gears worked. Mr. Anders agreed to teach those lessons, his voice steady as he wound the brass and explained turning wheels. Years later, the Little Lighthouse still turned each night, now with a young keeper learning beside Mr. Anders. Children from Harbor Bend came in school groups, wrapped as Mr. Anders explained prisms and how a small lamp shaped a far reach. They climbed the spiral stairs carefully, touching the brass, and Esty airing through the glass at the island's dark ring and the ribbon of sea stretching outward. One summer evening, when the ocean was quiet and the village smelled of salt and dinner, a little girl named Maya asked Mr. Anders why he loved the job so much. He took a slow breath and answered simply, "Because when I wound the lamp, someone crossed the water and found their family waiting. That is worth 1,000 plans." Time moved on. Mr. Anders grew older, and one spring he decided it was time to step down. He chose a keeper he trusted, someone who had apprenticed with him, learned the slow motion of watchfulness, and respected each tiny gear. The town threw a small celebration. They thanked him for years of steady light and for teaching children how to see far. The Little Lighthouse remained, not because technology demanded it, but because people remembered the nights when a small beam had meant the difference between safety and loss. It kept on turning, and somewhere off, boats found the ribbon it drew, not because a machine told them to, but because someone had kept a promise. Purpose is sometimes quiet work. It's a wind that touches other lives. Not a shout, but a steady, dependable signal. The little things done carefully can be the difference between being lost and being found. The moral of the story is, purpose might be quiet, but it matters. Be steady where you stand. Your light can guide others home. Every story unfolds a new turn, and maybe the next one will be yours. Keep watching unfold, where the lessons of life open up one by one. See you in the next episode, only on Unfold. Thank you